Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you had a great spring break. I know that many of you probably had to cancel trips and vacations, but at least we had a little bit of good weather, and hopefully you were able to get out and get some fresh air. All right, so for day 8, you guys were supposed to have done a survey, and from the looks of it, I think most of you were pretty okay with the amount of work that I'm giving you. I know there was a couple other comments, but regardless, we're going to pick up right about where we left off. Now, dimensional analysis is this idea that we have to be able to convert from one thing to another. And the way that we do that is by using a conversion factor. And the example I think I gave last week was that if you go to another country and you want to convert dollar bills into euros, you have to know that exchange rate. Well, that exchange rate is a conversion factor. If you're doing a recipe and the ingredients are measured out in the metric system, you may want to convert from the metric system to the American system because you don't have measuring tools that are metric. So today we're going to focus a little bit more on the metric conversion factors, which you're already kind of familiar with. And my strategy is I typically like to set the larger number to 1. Now, it doesn't always have to be, but that's going to be my strategy through the next few examples. So we're going to kind of piggyback off what we did before spring break. A conversion factor is a fraction that represents equality. In this case, 1 week was equal to $14 worth of pay. We also have other conversion factors for time. 1 year is equal to 365 days, or we could say that 1 day is equal to 24 hours. Regardless, you're going to want to cancel out the original unit by placing it on the bottom, and you want to look at the new unit. In this case, we're looking for how many hours Aunt Kathy has been alive, and the new unit replaces the old unit. So we had to go from years to days, and that took 1 step. And then we had to go from days to hours, so that took another step. And I really like to show unit cancellation. So years on top cancels out years on bottom in green. Days on top cancels out days on bottom in pink. And then what we end up with is hours. So we multiply by the conversion factors on top. 87 times 365 times 24. And then we divide by the conversion factors on the bottom. Divide by 1, divide by 1, divide by 1. And the result in this case would be 762,000 hours. Now, back to the metric prefixes. I know that we actually did this before you left on your extended spring break, but base unit is basically 10 to the 0, or 1. It's a number that doesn't have a scientific notation associated with it. And we're going to use these metric prefixes to construct our own conversion factors. So just remember that tera represents a trillion, giga was a billion, mega is a million, and kilo was 1,000. Okay. On the other side, our smaller smaller metric prefixes, centi was 1/100th, or 10 to the negative 2. Milli was 1/1000th, or 10 to the negative 3. Micro was 1/1 millionth. Nano was 1/1 trillionth, and pico was 1/1 trillionth. Okay. Now we want to construct a conversion factor, and I told you that my strategy is going to be making the larger value equal to 1. All right, so let's say you want to create a conversion factor where you want to go from meters to centimeters, okay? Well, we know that a base unit, a meter, is larger than a prefix centi. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to actually flip the script, okay? So our base unit, or our larger unit, is going to be 1, in this case, the meter. So a meter is larger than a centimeter, okay? So 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So instead of saying 10 to the negative 2, we flip the sign and we say 10 to the positive 2. And remember, 10 to the positive 2 is equal to 100. So we can say that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. All right, let's do another one. Okay, let's do kiloliters to liters. Okay, so kilo is the larger number, so it looks like I've already set it to 1, and kilo is actually 10 to the 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and we're going to set the smaller value equal to 10 to the 3. So 1 liter is 10 to the 3 liters, okay? Or we could say that it is equal to 1,000 liters. So we see what we're doing is we're kind of flipping the signs here. So we set the larger value to 1, that would be kilo, and it takes 1,000 liters to equal a kiloliter. All right, we'll do one more just for good measure. Let's go from liters to milliliters. That's letter D here. So we've already set the larger value to 1. 1 liter is equal to, now milli is 10 to the negative 3. So in this case, we're going to flip it. So it's 10 to the positive 3. So a milliliter is 1,000 times smaller than a liter, which means we need 1,000 of them to be equal. So 1 liter is equal to 1,000 milliliters. Now, one of the examples down below, we're going to have to use a conversion factor that 1 milliliter is equal to 1 centimeter cubed, but we'll get that in just a minute, okay? All right, so guys, you're supposed to fill out these conversion factors. You might need to look online. They can be a little bit tricky. I think the more you do, the better that you'll get. All right, now earlier in the year, we talked about decimal shifting. If we wanted to go from liter to kiloliter, we would shift the decimal 3 positions to the right. But we're going to do it a little bit different this time. We're going to go up above, and we are going to use our conversion from liters to kiloliters. Now, we want to cancel out liters, so we're going to put that on the bottom. Okay, liters goes on the bottom. And then what you guys can see here is that liters cancels out liters. But we want to end up in kiloliters, so we're going to put that on top. Now, one thing you need to remember is where do you put the 1? In this case, we put the 1 with the kiloliter. So 1 kiloliter is equal to 10 to the third, or 1,000 liters. So liters cancels out liters. We're left with kiloliters. We're going to take 50 and we're going to multiply it by the conversion factor on top. So 50 times 1 is 50. And then we're going to divide by the conversion factor on the bottom. So 50 divided by 1,000 is equal to 0.0500 kiloliters. So all right, you can check that in your calculator if you like. So I'm double checking right now. 50 divided by 1,000 is equal to 0.05. Now, guys, I left a few extra zeros in there. We'll talk about that at a later date, okay? All right, let's do another one. Let's go from meters to millimeters. All right, so we're going up above, and we're going to find our conversion from meters to millimeters. And I don't actually see one. Oh, there it is, letter M. Now remember, milli is 10 to the negative 3, so we're going to flip it to 10 to the positive 3. Since the millimeter is 1,000 times smaller, we need 1,000 of them. So we're going to go from meter to millimeter. So base unit goes on the bottom, and millimeter goes on top. And we say, where does the 1 go? Well, the 1 typically is going to go with the larger one. So 1 meter is equal to 1,000 millimeters. Now, I want to show you unit cancellation. So blue cancels out blue, meters cancel out meter. Now, 36 divided by 1 is, well, 36. But 36 times 1,000 is equal to 36,000. So 36 meters is equal to 36,000 millimeters. Now, a couple of these down here. My suggestion is to go from prefix to base unit and then base unit to the new prefix. So in the case of 354, we're going to go from milliliter to base unit liter. And then we're going to go from base unit liter to prefix centiliter. Now, I know you can't see the conversion factors up top, but I happen to know some of these. So a liter is 1,000 milliliters, and a liter is 100 centiliters. Let me show you unit cancellation real quick. So milliliters cancels out milliliters. Pink cancels out pink. Liters cancels out liters. Green cancels out green. And what we're left with now in this case is centiliters. So you're going to take 354. You're going to take the 354 times 1 times 100. And then you're going to take that and you're going to divide by 1,000 and you're going to divide by 1. I'm going to leave that one for you guys to do. Now we get down to this one, which is a little bit more complicated. We have two things. We want to convert from grams to kilograms, but we also want to convert from milliliters to liters. So it doesn't really matter where we start. I'm just going to start with grams on the top. So grams cancels out grams, and we want to go to kilograms. And I will show this canceling out. So Dark purple cancels out dark purple. Gram cancels out grams. And right now we're left in kilograms per milliliter. So now we want to get rid of milliliters. And because it's on the bottom, we're going to put it on the top. So milliliters on top is going to cancel out milliliters on bottom. And we want liters on the bottom, so we're going to put it right there. So milliliters cancels out milliliters. And now what we are left with is kilograms per liter. So you fill in your conversion factors. 1 kilogram is 1,000 grams, and 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters. So you guys can go ahead and multiply by 1, multiply by 1,000, divide by 1,000, divide by 1, and you'll get your answer that way. Okay, one of the last ones I want to do is something that has a exponent in it. Now, if we have centimeters cubed, that means we need to cancel it out once, twice, 3 times. We can't cancel it out once, we actually have to cancel it out 3 times. And we want to end up in meters squared, so we're going to multiply by meters once, twice, and 3 times. So centimeters cubed is canceled out by centimeters 1, 2, 3 times. And then a meter times a meter times a meter is actually a meter cubed. So then we're going to go back and we're going to fill out our numbers. We're going to plug in our ones where appropriate. We're going to plug in our other numbers where appropriate, and then we're going to do that. Guys, a tip for the last one, I'm not going to do it with you, but your trick here is you're going to go from liters to milliliters, and then you're going to go from milliliters to centimeters cubed, and then you're going to cancel out centimeters 3 times and multiply by millimeters 3 times. So that's a pretty big hint on the last one. Guys, if you have any questions, you can leave a comment on Google Classroom or feel free to send me an email. I miss you guys. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.